You are lying in bed tonight. Outside your window, the sky is quiet. Nothing falls from it. No ash, no fire, no end of everything you have ever known. But 74,000 years ago, on a single night, the sky did fall, and it very nearly erased every human being on Earth. This is not a story you were taught in school. It is buried in ice cores, in ocean sediment, in your own DNA. And once you understand what happened that night, you will never look at a quiet sky the same way again. It began on the island now called Sumatra. A supervolcano, one that had been sleeping for hundreds of thousands of years, finally woke up. Geologists call it the Toba eruption. It was not like the volcanoes you picture. It did not simply spit lava into the air, it tore the crust of the earth open and threw nearly 3,000 cubic kilometers of rock, ash, and gas into the sky in a matter of hours. Try to hold that number in your head. 3,000 cubic kilometers. That is enough material to bury an entire country under meters of ash. Somewhere, not far from that mountain, a small band of early humans was sleeping. Maybe 40 of them. Maybe fewer. They had no warning. There was no myth yet for what was about to happen because nothing like it had ever happened to anyone who lived to tell it. The sound came first. A sound louder than anything a human ear had ever processed. A sound that geologists now believe would have been heard clearly over 4,000 kilometers away. Imagine an explosion so massive that people on the other side of an ocean would have felt it in their chests before they understood what it was. Then came the sky. It turned the color of a bruise. Then it turned black. Not night black. Not cloudy day black. A black with no moon behind it, and no stars pushing through because there was nothing left in the atmosphere for light to travel through cleanly. Ash began to fall like snow, except this snow did not melt. It coated everything. It filled the lungs of animals that tried to keep breathing through it. It settled on leaves until the leaves broke under the weight. Rivers that had run clear for generations turned gray and thick, undrinkable, choking with sediment that would not clear for months. Researchers who have studied ash deposits from Toba have found layers up to 9 centimeters thick as far away as India, and measurable ash spread across almost the entire Indian Ocean region, 9 centimeters from an eruption thousands of kilometers away. Now imagine what it looked like closer to the mountain itself, where entire valleys simply vanished under gray dust, where nothing that breathed air could have survived the eruption's first hours at all. Picture waking to that, not a storm you recognize, not a fire you can run from. A sky that has simply stopped behaving like a sky, and no story yet invented to explain why. What do you think happens to a species when the sun disappears for one night? Now ask yourself what happens when it does not come back for years. Geologist Stanley Ambrose proposed something in 1998 that still unsettles researchers today. He argued that the Toba eruption triggered what scientists call a volcanic winter, a period where sulfur dioxide from the eruption formed a haze so thick across the atmosphere that global temperatures may have dropped several degrees for years afterward. Forests that early humans depended on for food began to die. Grasslands turned brittle and gray. The animals that humans hunted began to starve, and so did the humans hunting them. Somewhere in East Africa, thousands of kilometers from the mountain itself, that first night still mattered. The ash had not reached them. But the darkness in the sky had. The cold had. The failing food chains had. Think about what it would have felt like to be one of them. You do not know about volcanoes. You have never seen one. Never heard the word. All you know is that the sun set, as it always does, and then it simply did not return the way it should have. Days stayed dim. Nights stayed colder than any night your people had ever survived. Children who had never known hunger before began to know it now. And there was no elder alive who could explain why, because nothing like this had ever happened to anyone who lived long enough to pass the story down. That is the detail that should chill you most. This was not a threat your ancestors could fight, or flee, or even fully comprehend. It arrived from a direction no one was watching, on a night no one expected, and it did not announce itself with warning signs your ancestors' instincts were built to recognize. This is the part of the story that should genuinely disturb you. Population geneticists Henry Harpending and Lynn Jorday, studying patterns of human genetic diversity, found something strange. Compared to almost every other species on Earth, humans have remarkably little genetic variation. Chimpanzees, who have never faced a global disaster like this, show more genetic diversity in a single group living in one forest than all 8 billion humans show combined. Why would that be? Why would the smartest, most adaptable species on the planet carry so little genetic difference between individuals? Their answer was blunt. At some point in our past, the human population may have collapsed to a shockingly small number, perhaps only a few thousand breeding individuals, before slowly climbing back up. Some researchers link the timing of that collapse directly to the night Toba erupted. Picture that for a moment. Every person alive on Earth today, Every stranger you pass on the street, every face on every crowded train, every human being on every continent may be descended from a population so small it could have fit inside a single modern stadium. You are not just descended from survivors. You are descended from the tiny handful of people who did not starve, did not freeze, did not choke on ash in the years after one impossibly dark night. Not everyone agrees on how close humanity actually came to disappearing. Some researchers using different genetic models argue the bottleneck was less severe than Ambrose first believed, or that other climate shifts contributed alongside Toba. But almost no one disputes that this was one of the most dangerous stretches in the entire history of our species, a stretch that began, geologically speaking, in a single catastrophic night. Here is the part that should sit with you longest. The humans who lived through that first night had no idea what was happening to them. They did not know about supervolcanoes. They did not know about sulfur aerosols or global temperature drops. All they knew was that the sky had gone wrong, and it did not go right again for a very long time. And yet they adapted, they moved, they found food where there should not have been any. They passed down whatever they learned to children who would never fully understand how close they had come to not existing at all. Every fear response wired into your body today, the tightening in your chest at sudden loud noise, the instinct to look up when the light changes too fast may be an inheritance from ancestors who lived through a darkness with no explanation. So tonight, when you lie in your bed and the sky outside your window stays calm, remember this. That calm is not guaranteed. It never was. Somewhere in your genetic code is the memory of a night when it wasn't. You are lying in bed tonight, and the sky is quiet. But it was not always this generous. And the only reason you are here to notice the silence is because, one impossibly dark night, a handful of your ancestors refused to disappear.